Thank you very much for joining us. We're delighted for you all to join us today. I have myself, Jane Murdoch, on the call with George Hall. Next slide. Thank you. So, a few introductions before we start. My background, I've been working in safety, risk and quality management for the last 15 years, helping support businesses bidding in and implementing quality, safety and risk management solutions. We are, as a business, accredited ourselves to ISO 9001-2015 and will be going for 45 later on in the year when that is available, and I'll be helping support the business during that process. Also, we have connections with the IAQG. I'm heading off to America. Myself and a colleague are heading off to America next week. We've been asked to do a chat, have a speaker slot to the quality global leaders there. And we'll be talking about how we help support the supply chain in attaining their accreditations and using our systems for quality management. Indeed, George has also been, you were in...
Yeah, I was in Sweden 6 months ago for the IAQG event. My name is George Hall. I am one of the consultants for Ideagen. My role is really to understand the industries we work within, keep ahead of the trends with the changes in standards such as the transition to Rev D, ISO 9001-2015 and the upcoming 45001, and really take your requirements and show you what they would look like within software solutions.
Perfect. Okay. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we've done the intros on Ideagen and who we are, one more slide on that. Then we'll look at the clauses and timescales, which I'm sure you're all more than aware of. Talking to you about how you're going to deliver by the 15th of September 2018, understanding the core elements, and what do you need to do now, because all of you will be at a different stage. You may already have attained or in the process of the transition as we speak. So we can talk about that, and really how QPOS can help support the transition, but also just really how we can help talk you through this supporting the transition and how that can look for you. Ideagen, who are we? Well, we provide software and expertise to the world's leading brands, improving efficiency and certainly in the world of quality, safety, risk and operational risk and audit, as you can see here. We help our customers achieve the operational excellence that they're looking for, ensuring that they are compliant and working closely with them, not just on the software side, but certainly seen as thought leaders in this area. The staff headcount we have today, overall 381. You can see we've got sites all over the world now, which is great. We have been around as a business for 25 years, delivering quality and safety software into industry. I've been around for a long time, recently purchased by Ideagen, well, a couple of years ago now. So we've all come together under the one roof with 381 employees. I've put the timeline, time to comply for you from September 2016, from when you were aware, to September 2018. We don't want to labour on this, but you do have a timescale that has to be met by September 2018, and any AS9100C certifications will no longer be eligible for transition after this time, which means you're back to square one, which you don't want. Looking at the certification bodies and external auditors, they are in high demand, and we know that now, George. We know that there's lots of auditors.
We obviously keep in touch with the industries. We are aware that there is a lack of auditors to get people through the transition. So I imagine all you guys are sorted that are listening, but it is getting really down to the wire as to time we need to begin our transition before we either go through a full-blown audit, which nobody wants to do, or you're left really struggling with this.
Yeah, and certainly in terms of the auditors, it could result in availability issues.
Yeah.
And that's not news. Everyone.
Yeah, and we've seen it with the ISO 9001 transition as well. People thought they had a lot of time. They never. September 2016 seems ages ago,
Yeah.
but it actually wasn't. It was only just over 12 months. Obviously, we all knew the standard was coming before then as well. So we've all had plenty of time to consider and get these timelines in our head.
Yeah. We've also got a couple of customers that will be on with us today that we're actually helping support a roadmap for the delivery from where they are now, producing, helping them identify the gap analysis by actually doing it through our solution, through QPulse, their auditing, and creating, as I say, roadmaps to help support them. Where do they need to be? What do they need to be doing in the time scales given? Okay.
Yeah, and I think in short, what we're trying to get across there is basically if we don't recertify, then it may impact your ability to get current business, because obviously it's a big thing with contracts. Are you compliant? What standards do you hold, etc.? And a loss of any standard could have a big impact on anybody.
Sure can. So we've just put the clause and the high-level changes here in front of you. Again, you will all be aware of it. You know what's coming. You know the changes that will be happening. In particular, we'll be talking about main focus on clause 4, context of the organisation, where the sort of big changes are, and what you would be expected to do as a business. And you'll be doing most of it anyway. As we speak, you're already doing it. But this is just to bring your attention to the high levels of the changes that will be happening. I'm not going to go into all of them in any great detail, but yeah, because you'll be aware of them.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is risk-based thinking is new.
Yeah.
It's always been there, though. Lots of people are aware of this. People already risk assess. We do preventative actions. We do corrective actions. We're all kind of doing this. All the standard has done, from my point of view, is made it more formal. Yeah. Whereas in ISO 9001, it's not a formal requirement. Due to the complex nature of aerospace, it is a formal requirement. And as Jenny said, anybody familiar with any standard will know these clauses. You guys probably know them better than we do. You will have been living and breathing it for a while. But we will look at the risk-based thinking and the context.
Sure. Okay. So we blogged, it was 7th of April now. So it's the reason we're even mentioning it. It's been so quick to come round. It's been what, over 6 months now, and we're here in October already. And it's just making it, you know, the time scale is so short to have it done by September. I know most of you will be looking to get audited in the new year. Speaking to a customer this morning, they've got their audit booked in for March. So, and in the blog, what we were asking was just asking questions that you would be asking yourself, like what stage are you at in the transition, and what management systems are you using? Are they adequate? What you actually have within the business now? You may have a homegrown systems. You may be using Excel, or your IT guys set up some sort of process in place for you. So there will be something there for you to use. It's just about how adequate that is for you to deliver what you're looking for. And this isn't just about the transition of getting to 9100 your Rev D. This is about the continuing of that, you know, learning from it, and then the continuous improvement programs that you are going. This will instill that into the business and the way forward, and not just for that standard. Most companies, as we know, go for multiple standards. And again, they're very sort of uniformed in their approach with the old risk-based thinking. Other questions: how's your organisation going to use the timescales wisely? Another one: and how are you planning on, and how are you preparing? Accountability lies with top management. Yes, they can delegate out the work. However, you will need to be organised and be able to show an understanding. And are you able to demonstrate the progress that you're making across the business? Who's your champions? Who are the people there that have the right experience to take you through to the transition next year? I'm sure you're not all doing it on your own. You know, and how are you actually going to manage the change in the organisation? Because this instills change, of course, because of you know, the changes that have come into play with the transition. Not just now, as I said, about ongoing. Okay, so and getting the right system in place needs to have, you need to have the right system in place to have a positive impact. So as George mentioned, you'll be able to pull in your CAPAs, your NCRs, identifying your risks in advance, positive opportunities as well as, positive impact. You talk about that often, George?
Yeah, it's a big thing, obviously. I mean, ISO 9001 did it first, identifying opportunities for the business. Maybe Jane is working a little bit quicker than me. How is she doing it? Can we replicate it? What's going to be the benefit from it? So it's not just the negativity these days. We need to capture even staff ideas, employee initiatives, and things like that. So having a system in place for that is a great start. But like you said, Jane, it's also a culture shift because people are too used to reporting negative things.
Yeah.
And in manual systems or even some electronic systems, getting a good reporting culture can be difficult, and that's just based on my experience in the industry when I worked back, and also the customers we talk to. They want to make it easy to report and draw conclusions from that.
Absolutely. And a few of the other things that we'll be discussing next week in America with IAQG is about interaction with the supply chain. How are the supply chain using the system, and how are you evaluating the supply chain? How are you communicating with them? Are you doing what you need to do? You want to be able to make sure that you're communicating with them effectively. The auditing as well is another, obviously the big one, capturing root causes of analysis and any issues, unseen costs in the supply chain. It goes on and on. So one thing's clear, you want to have uniformity and have a system in place that's going to accommodate the transition to Rev D. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Customers. This is just purely as an example of who's using it. We've got the top 7 A&D companies in the world that are using the software. The good thing about that is that we are able then to pull in best practice. We've implemented in some of the bigger companies. We can share this best practice with our customers. We have user groups where every people that you see on the screen there and many more, because we have 3,000 plus customers across the globe using the software. You've got all these customers that come together under one roof and talk about how they're using it, best practice, and again, sharing what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's just within the aerospace and defence industry. Yeah. QPulse itself, like Diagen, are represented throughout most complex manufacturing areas. We are utilised extensively from a safety management perspective within aviation. Yeah. You've got automotive, you've even got healthcare and local trusts using us for analysis, patient concerns, etc. So the point being, I suppose, is your management system has to be flexible to go with the changes in industry and any best practice you may learn from another industry, like the rail industry is following in the footsteps of the aviation industry, for instance.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but so that's just just to give you a bit more background on us. But in terms of a system and having a process in place, as long as you've got the system there that can accommodate that, whether you buy something, you get your IT guys to make sure that they're doing what they need to do, you're doing something yourself. Ideally, if you can have something, utilising something that has a action management process, management action trackers, reminders, making sure that things aren't getting missed.
Yeah, the key to any system, be it manual or electronic, is the visibility. If I don't know what I've got to do, I'm not going to get it done.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem I've come across is people just not being responsible for what they need to do. They just weren't aware they had activities to perform.
Yeah. Okay. So it's about really what do you need to do now. We've mentioned a few clauses here. These are the ones that we've had discussed with some of our customers as well. But we're making the main focus is management to get involved. Clause 4 is, of course, context of the organisation. You need to understand the context, your interested parties, determining scope, QMS processes.
Yeah.
5, leadership, in particular leadership and commitment to the leadership team in the business. Yes, they can delegate out the work to either you are part of the leadership team that are on listening to us now, or indeed your colleagues need to do it, or you are part of the team to do it. They have a responsibility, and you have to be able to identify risks, for example, in clause 6, which covers planning, risk and opportunities. quality objectives and planning of changes. Okay. Clause 9, another one for planning, performance evaluation, monitoring, measuring, analysing and evaluation, which comes down to your auditing, how you're tracking it. Do you have somewhere to do it? And are you, what sort of time are you taking up in the business? Because you're not just going for something like this. You guys all have hats to wear, other remits. As part of your quality role in the business, you're doing multiple other things as well as looking to do something like this. So it's about thinking smarter, doing it smarter, saving time. Clause 10, improvement, general improvement ideas, your non-conformance, your CAPA, and the all-important continual improvement, because that's what you want to be in an area, in a place where you can continually improve. And if you're using spreadsheets and you're using documents that you have that are sort of all over the place, it's really difficult to be able to provide a continual improvement program when you're unable to evaluate. You don't have the stats and the figures that you need to take it to the next stage. Okay, risk-based thinking.
Yeah, we've kept this slide simple on purpose. Everybody can recognise a 5x5 risk matrix with your red, amber, green. And the standard now words it so that it's explicit. You require risk-based thinking. Previously, it was implicit, as in we're implying you need to do it. And a lot of businesses were doing it anyway. Now it's different. You have to do this. But a lot of people in the aerospace industry have been doing this anyway. So you're always risk assessing. What we find within the aerospace industry is people are a lot more proactive compared to other industries. We actually sit down and we think, what could go wrong, rather than, hang on, what has gone wrong? And a lot of businesses could learn from that. But I also think we need to take risk-based thinking to another level, in that I think, and Jane might agree with me, a lot of people do risk assessment on the outcome of success. I have done this, I'm going to stop it happening. But what they never consider is, what if it does go wrong? Too many people base risk management on the outcome being success. I personally, quite a negative guy anyway in general, I always think, let's consider the worst. Always plan on failure, and then we can build from there. Not something I would take through to life in general, but from a business perspective, if it could go wrong, it very likely is. Another good old risk management saying, but definitely I think we need to start considering what if it does go wrong. What do you think, Janie? Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think, especially when it comes down to your auditing, you want to be in a position where you can start to, have a matrix and understand whether you're using a 5x5 or whatever theory it is that you're using, a 3x3, low, medium, high, doesn't matter, gets you thinking. It's a flat risk that we've shown you here, and that is really dependent on your risk appetite as a business. If you have a much more, in-depth risk appetite in the business, there are other ways of being able to capture that data. But here what we're showing you is pretty much just a flat risk. Is it going well, or do we need to be worried about this? And seeing something in advance, flagging it immediately and saying, right, we need to do something about it, and not just we need to do something about it and sending an email. We need to do something about it, and so that we can have follow-up from it, actions, correct the problem, prevent it from happening again, and you will have a matrix, you will have all this in place currently at the moment, but it's risk-based thinking is again hugely important, certainly for RevD and all the other standards that are coming along, all the future standards and the standards as we're talking about now. Okay.
We're going to take questions at the end, but we've had one come through that I need to cover off. Somebody has asked what will be the impact on a first article inspection point of view from AS 9102. It's not something we've looked at specifically for the purposes of this webinar. We're more thinking around the quality side, your policies, procedures, etc. Now, we do have first article inspection experience through our company IPI, who provide this kind of software. So that's something, Christian, that I will get back to you on out of it. Okay. Any other questions? we will pick up at the end. The final one I'll cover off came from Erhan Sahin. The risk-based thinking approach is based on SMS risk assessment. I have got this based on a safety management assessment, but it could be any type of risk matrix. To be honest, they're not really formal, as in it has to be SMS risk that you're doing. It just has to be that we have assessed this.
I also think that comes from the investigation of it, is because it works very well. SMS risk-based thinking, it lends itself exceptionally well to the standard, because they can, they're looking into it, you're investigating it, you're classifying it, and you've got the whole workflow off the back end of it. Yeah,
and we're obviously all doing lessons learned as well, which is a big thing in any kind of safety management system. We could talk forever on risk. It's a black hole people can get sucked into. I talk about it a lot. I've got lots of stories. It's not the time to share them about the Titanic, because we're talking about aerospace at the moment. But risk is something I get involved in a lot. I mean, we do it every day. You cross the road, you're assessing, is the car going to get me, drive enough time? So we're already doing this. We just need to formalize it a little bit more, in that if an auditor comes in and says, okay, George, have you risk assessed this? You had this incident. Do you think it could happen again? In ISO 9001, I just need to say, yes, Mr. or Mrs. Auditor, I've assessed it. In aerospace, I need to show the auditor. So that's a key difference. And we can have these as documented risk assessments, spreadsheets, anything like that.
And we're going to show you the way how to do that, how that looks when you're performing an audit. Now, we put in the screen what we have. So there's QPulse Risk, and Academy. That's just about our products. But what we are going to get and show you is the flow from your document management to your CAPA, from your docs to your audit to your CAPA, and in between. So whether you're using a system that's external, or you're using a system internal or external, doesn't matter, the same thing will apply. And what we're showing you is how to simplify it, Just make it simple, don't make it difficult for yourself. Because what you do is, you get on top of things, and that's great, right, we've got that part now. I've got another part of my job where you get a project to deliver in the business, and you're off doing something else. What's managing that behind you? Other than emails. I certainly wouldn't want trusting an email to remind me and tell me what's happening. I got one email, and then I have to trust myself, and people are so busy now, it's difficult to do.
Yeah, an email gets red flagged, you push it to the back of the pile. Or maybe that's just what you do with my emails, Jane.
Not at all, George. No.
I mean, obviously we're going to go into some product now, but the point of this isn't to, oh look, this is QPulse, go and buy it. We just really want to show you there are different ways of doing this. If you have any questions, by all means raise them, and we'll cover them off. We'll take wee breaks during the overview to cover any questions you've got. But this isn't intended to say, oh, we're the only people out there. We just want you to know there's a better way than your spreadsheets, than your shared folders. And I come from that background of manual systems, where it was down to me having to chase people. They started dreading when I was getting there. So it's definitely an improvement that we hope we can show you today. Now, we've kept that brief and top level. You guys live it more than we do. We just wanted to let you know that we are aware of the changes and things that are coming in to the standard. So I think next what we'll do is we'll go into the QPulse product. We'll show you our document control area. We'll show you our audit management area, and then our non-conformance management area. And then if you have any questions, we can go from there.
But the key thing to note is how we're doing it, how easy and simple it is, and you can, replicate that process in your business if you're struggling right now. Okay? So George is going to
just getting things ready, and then we'll share the screen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hopefully that went smoothly and transitioned no problem. What we've got is, this is our system QPulse. This is what we call the launch pad. So when you log in, you'll see something similar to this. It's your central access point to the system. Now, it is very permission driven. So if you've got data you don't want to share, then you can hide it away. For instance, Jane, if you didn't need access to specific types of document. Maybe you've got confidential HR or even confidential risk assessments we performed, business continuity type stuff.
Yeah.
We can hide them away so you'll not see it.
And also AS 9100 Rev D docs.
Yep.
You know, make them available to the people that are there in a folder.
All of your required documentation, the must-have documents within the standard, we can store within here. Now, from a visibility point of view, which we've already agreed is quite important, I can see straight away I've got activities to perform. If I go to workload, I can see straight away what those particular activities are. So within documents, I've got 8 coming up for review within the next week. Now, this is a demo database, guys. You'd have it the other way around in real life, more green flags than red, but red means I've been quite lazy, I've not done everything. And that goes across all of my modules. So maybe I've got a supplier that's overdue for review, or we mentioned audits, I've got 8 audits I need to perform. If you're management and you're looking for visibility across the business, then rather than going to your spreadsheets, visually assessing this and skimming it and missing things, then straight away I've got in front of me, this is every task I need to do in my business. I've gone from 8 reviews to 29. I could start narrowing down by individual. So if I wanted to see your workload, Jane, I could do so. Or maybe I just need to look at departments. Maybe we need to see how quality are doing, or depending on your setup, how is a specific site doing. We can even go one lower level. Do we have groups of people, a quality team, a safety team, even our risk management team, and we can see what they've got coming up. Now, that's just a quick way of getting visibility. Like we said, with your manual systems, it's all kind of reliant on spreadsheets, people going in and remembering they've got, because there's no kind of automation behind it. With Qpulse, if I distribute a document to everybody that's listening, you'll receive an email, and that email will bring you straight to the document. So it's cutting down a lot of time, and then you'll be able to say, I've read the document. And I get visibility of that. I know you've read it, so I don't need to worry if you're following the procedure or not. And it's always the active release that you get. And it's the same for audit. If I were to add you all to an audit, you would get an email. In that email, it would tell you when the audit was and your responsibilities. So it's all about reminding you you've got things to do. And Janie, if you don't get it done, it'll go to your line manager. So we're going to escalate that. So we'll always notify, remind, and escalate. And that goes across all of the modules. If I were to raise a supplier non-conformance, they'll be told. If I was to raise an internal non-conformance, the correct team will be told. We'll put an 8D workflow on there, and we'll go from there. And we'll take you through that just now as we jump into the system. Now, if I need to find a specific type of document, maybe I don't have much information, I just have, it's something to do with quality, I can type the keyword in, and it'll quickly narrow down what we're looking for. So these 16 documents are what the system has returned. If I needed to look at a monitoring procedure, for instance, that's the document I need. I can click on it and it will open. And as Jane pointed out, we wanted to show you how easy it was to get in to your monitoring procedure. That's the document I needed. That's the document I've got. If it's not, then I can start searching even further. I could start narrowing down by my document hierarchy. Now, I don't know what your hierarchies look like, guys, but it's probably similar to this. Environmental policies alongside quality, alongside health and safety, etc. I could search on an owner. Maybe I know Jane owns this document. I don't know much more about it. Or if somebody's been useful in the system, they may have created the search already, so I can save it and I can run it. And that little green arrow just means maybe Jane has created that. She thinks her team's going to need it. We're going to access it. So again, we're making it as simple as possible to roll this information out. If I needed my example company documents, I click on it. There they are all there with all the different numbering sequences and the titles and the types and even the different revision numbers on the right. Now we're in the active register. That's where your staff want to live. You don't want them going anywhere else because down that road lies audit findings. You want them looking at an active release because it's the latest revision. And the system gives you that confidence. So I know if I walked away and Jane can only access active documents, that's all she's going to see. She's not going to be holding revision 3 when we're on revision 4 when an auditor walks around the corner. We distinctly really lower that possibility.
You're one version of the truth. That's what you're getting and what people are having access to.
Exactly. Now, one thing with the Qpulse system is all the modules are laid out the same. You've always got your responsibilities, so you can't escape what you need to do. I prefer seeing it as a friendly reminder, but it's always there what I've got to do. And if we do find a particular document, we can get rid of the information we don't need. Or again, you've already seen me run the search. If I'm looking for that monitoring procedure again, simply type it in and it pops up. And from a change management perspective, Jane, which you mentioned at the beginning, it's huge. I can see very quickly what relationships are up and running. So this document, I know what the symbols mean, guys. Obviously, you don't. These two at the bottom are referencing the document I've highlighted at the top. So as the owner, if I change that, I need to consider the impact there, which is difficult to see in a spreadsheet or a shared folder or even a SharePoint environment, whereas the top three are the documents that this is referencing, so those owners would also be aware. So again, we're trying to surface very quickly what people require.
Again, a huge time-saving tool, because if something happens or something's going on, then you pull the risk assessment, for example, if it's in there. What is the risk assessment, what's it associated to? What other documents does it link to? Each one of them run autonomously with their own life cycle, but what's really important is for you to pull it. Where do you get that level of information? If you're tracking it where you are, great. Most companies that we speak to find that a difficult task to do, and it's time consuming as well.
Yeah, and the linkage between documents and processes and standards is all done at the kind of document record level. So right now we've opened up the record, and this will be familiar to those that have like a master sheet on a spreadsheet. We've got the type and title, your numbering sequence, etc., and we have an owner and author. So it's nothing new here, guys. This is the data you're already managing. It's just a bit easier to digest and more in your face with the automation. So I've got an owner and an author. We've got a review date. We've got our monitoring procedure, we've got our keywords. Now these keywords are free text, so I can put whatever I want in there, which is why this document came up when we searched quality, for instance. Now one of the big things that I talk to a lot of people about is, how do you know somebody's read the document? And in a manual system, a lot you might be relying on read receipts. So you send me an email, you get a read receipt, you take that as proof I've read the document, when it might not mean a thing at all. I could have just clicked, Jane wants a read receipt, click yes, I've not read it. The way we handle that in QPulse is everybody on this list has received an email. So let's use Kenny Glynn as an example. So Kenny was emailed on the 15th of February 2017. Now, just to point out, that's using the European dating standard. We can replicate North American dating standards if need be. So that could be the 15th of February or the 2nd of the 15th month, if it ever existed, which it doesn't. But there's a nice timestamp there to say the system emailed Kenny at 3:30, and then there's a nice timestamp to say when Kenny actually logged in to read it. So from an audit trail perspective, an auditor comes in, how do you know Kenny's read this? I've got it right there, that they've read and understood the document. And we even cater for hard copies as well. If you've got somebody that needs to replace a hard copy, we can differentiate. They know when it's released. Go and replace the copy in the quality room, and you've got a lot quicker visibility that it's been done, rather than, Jane, if you remember to do that, it would get done. Change requests, we talked about change control being massive. If it's a small change, like, look, this paragraph's wrong, this comma needs to change, everybody gets access to this, depending on permissions, to say, I think this needs to update. When it's raised, it's flagged to the appropriate people. They can accept or reject. So if Janie logged this and I rejected it, she would be told. If I accepted it, she would be told. So it's a nice closed loop system, and they all get given a unique identifier, again, to help from an audit trail perspective. We do track the review period. I think you mentioned that's customizable. Currently, I've got this type of document to be every 12 months, but I might want it to be every 18 months. I've got that capability. Let me change, for instance, HACCP is 12 months. My health and safety could be 6 months, as an example. It wouldn't be that quick, but you get the idea. When it comes round, it's up to me to go and review this. I can ask people's opinions. Ultimately, I make the choice, but it's all driven by a target date to ensure things are closed off in a timely manner. And that's one of the other big things with a system like QPulse. It's time savings, it's automation, and it's getting rid of all the laborious admin stuff that you're doing right now.
While sharing as well, while sharing best practice, sharing ideas, what does somebody else think about it, get other people's opinions. All too often, people are busy doing what they're doing, and it's difficult to get hold of someone. Doing it in that way, it's being flagged, they're being asked, they're being involved. They don't even have to be beside them. It's via email, and you're sharing and doing what's best.
Another thing people sometimes struggle with, and again, this is just my experience of auditing businesses, when you have a shared folder system, especially, not SharePoint as such, but a shared folder, if I search for quality manual, it may return revision 3 when actually I need revision 5. QPost eliminates that by surfacing the active document, but storing the obsolete or inactive releases in another location. If you've got the right permission, we can go and access them if needs be. Finally, who approved the document and when? So again, everything an auditor needs, guys, is here. A desktop audit would be perfect for a system like QPost. Give the auditor some access to your system, not all access, obviously, some access, and they'll be able to go in and check things. Now, finally, on the documents front, the last thing I kind of want to cover is the fact that we can relate this to a standard. Now, I don't have it related to an aerospace clause right now, but because I am ISO 9001 certified, I've already determined the context of my organization. I can simply go to my clause and we add it there. So an auditor says to me, George, how have you defined the context?
Yeah.
I can find it very quickly.
Perfect.
Now, there is a lot more to documents, obviously, but we're trying to keep it very high level. All you need to take away from this, like Jane said at the beginning, it's a central repository. It's one version of the truth. And it's more confidence, guys, that when somebody accesses a document, it's the one they actually need. We can gain further visibility, like who hasn't acknowledged a document, how long has it been there. But for general purposes, this is where your staff would go to find what they need. Anything else, Janie? Or?
Perfect. No, I think that's fine.
Yeah, we do have an app which has decided not to work, so let me come back to that. We do have an app that works from a document perspective. What it does is it allows you to go in and download documentation. So if I'm traveling and I need to access a policy while I'm away, I can have it on a mobile device like an iPhone or an iPad, Android tablet, Android phone, and take it with me. There we go.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties as always in live demonstrations. But we fixed it. This is my live phone, by the way, so if it rings, I apologize. This is the app we've got for QPost, so you can see I've got documents I need to acknowledge. We've got one that isn't downloaded, so if I lost signal, I wouldn't have it. But if I did, somebody distributed a new drawing to me, I can simply click acknowledge, enter my username and password, and as you can see with that disclaimer, by performing this action, it's basically me taking on accountability. I know what I'm doing now that I've received it.
On the go.
Yes, definitely. We go to the documents area.
Absolutely.
We can access what I've downloaded. We could even go into my document hierarchy and start looking at the different types of documents. Or if you've got your system set up correctly, we've got a folder system. So if I need these documents whilst I'm away, I've got them there and then with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these are working offline. The apps that we have are free of charge. Is something that we offer customers. It's just part of the service that we have, not just for docs, but now George is going to talk to you about audit.
Yeah, we do provide the app for audit, which we'll come to in a second. I know this is an AS9100 exercise. We'll look at my ISO calendar, but if I didn't want to look at my ISO calendar, I can simply type AS9100 and it'll start narrowing down if I put a space in, because it's the way I've set it up. And there's my audit calendar, not as extensive, but I could start filtering by specific calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Is it an external audit? I should update that to Rev D. That's a slap on the wrist for George Hall. But I've not transitioned yet, so it's okay. I'm still auditing against the old standard.
We'll let you off.
Yeah, and then I've got 2008 still in there, 2015. And then we've got internal audit types, environmentals, walk-around, safety checks. Management commitment is a big thing as part of the standard. Yeah. So there's no reason why we couldn't have management committee meetings. Okay, Mr. Representative, Mrs. Representative, what are we doing? How are things? Are we hitting our KPIs? Are we on our way to transition? So don't think of this as just your traditional audit, guys. It's any kind of inspection where you may need to raise an activity, a finding, non-conformance, or anything like that. And we have a nice visual representation of the calendar on the right. As that square gets shaded in, we know the audit is progressing. Or if we like spreadsheets, let's go back to the spreadsheet view and we can filter whether something has been performed or not. Yeah. I prefer the visual view, but that's my preference.
And the beauty of that is you have until September 2018 to get this done. So you can see very quickly what you should be doing month on month. What are you setting yourself? What the timescales are you setting yourself? What are you making sure is getting done and completed between now and then, or between now and when you're audited, which could be much earlier than September. And here is a visual representation showing you that, okay? And seeing what's coming for the year, what's coming for the month, what's coming for the week. You've got that level of view.
Yeah. If I open the audit, what we've introduced here, in line with the risk-based thinking aspect, is the ability to risk assess our non-conformance findings. So we've got our audit, we've got our calendar, our numbering sequence, we have our auditors and auditees, so anybody in here would receive an email. We've got our scope items. Now this might link to the documents module, for instance. Maybe you're going to be referencing your quality manual during this. So we would put our example quality manual in there. And when we click on it, it talks to the documents module and it opens that quality manual. So you've got all of your scope items. Rather than right now, you're probably going here, there and everywhere to pull this stuff together. It is there for you. And then we would have particular checklist questions, which we do have a customer portal. People share these, they put them up there for other businesses to download. And you can edit these as much as you like. This may not be an accurate representation, but we've got in here, this is Rev C actually, because we're not talking about context here, but I could type my response. I could add an attachment like a photo or anything like that, or I could raise a non-conformance finding. And what that grants me the ability to do is risk assess. So we've had an issue, I'm raising it against this standard. I get a nice little 5 by 5 matrix. Again, it could be 10 by 10, 3 by 3, whatever you would like. I think this is likely to happen again. It could be quite moderate. My risk appetite says we need to reduce risk, but we put our reasoning in here, and then we would move on to the next section. I want George to own this. You know what? You've got until the end of the month. Now, the owner and target date could be automated. I've left them blank, so you can see. And then we open record on finish. So, okay, it's Rev C we're looking at. You've got time until 2018 to move to Rev D, and that's me identified an audit finding. Yeah. It's linking back directly to the audit, so I don't need to do the manual cross-reference, and I've got a simple investigate, implement, and approve workflow. The beauty is we've captured our risk assessment. After we've gone through this, I would then be able to go and rerun my risk, capturing my residual risk score because we've put controls in place. We've managed to lower the likelihood to unlikely. We've managed to get the severity to minor, and we've performed that today. So to me, that is demonstrating improvement, which is all part of clause 10, I think, continual improvement.
And you can see the journey going from where it was.
Yeah, we can jump back to the parent audit. We can look at where we were. The audit knows it's got visibility over whether we've had a non-conformance or a finding. Yeah. And we've done this from a non-conformance perspective, but remember we mentioned at the beginning, this could be from an opportunity perspective also.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing we've got, if we go back to the app, which kindly worked first time this time, it's our audit function. Now, what that allows me to do is create the audit in Qpulse and download it onto a device, like I said, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet. You'll see the bottom one says download. That's because if I lose connectivity, I'll not be able to do it. However, the top one, I could go in and do. We've got our areas of standard. We've got our scope items like the documentation that I might need while I'm out and about. That all works offline as well. We've got our checklist questions, and I can raise findings, or the good thing is we can actually capture photographs, so you can see the blue corner of the room we're in. Now, if I'm doing a walk around and I think that plug looks a little bit funny, I can draw on it. I can add text to annotate the image, and that's me saved it as evidence. Now, think of the suppliers you're auditing. It's much, much easier to take this away on a mobile device and carry out your questions. And you don't need to worry about when you get to the airport or anything like that. When you get to the hotel at night, your audit is finished. You can upload it immediately.
You just think it. And signatures as well, which is the other thing. You've got the signature area there that you can have actually get people to sign it when you're there.
We can sign with my sausage fingers. Keyhole, anybody could copy my signature. And then I put my name in, and then that's it saved. It becomes an image as part of an electronic signature.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, after I've typed up my summary, it does use dictation as well, so you could talk to your device. I would simply email the report. It gives me a very basic report. It's more an agreement of next steps with any findings and our summary, and I can send it straight to the auditee.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nice and slick. Yeah, people love that, don't they?
That's audit in a nutshell. It's really just the ability to handle multiple calendars, because we know a lot of you are more than just AS 9100. You've got a lot of other standards you might follow, NADCAP, that kind of thing.
Indeed.
Okay, so the next area is our non-conformance area. This is really a workflow engine within QPost.
Yeah.
Any kind of workflow, from the non-conformance capability to the opportunity capability. I can raise multiple types of workflow, maybe a change control board, maybe a customer complaint or concern, or I could raise an internal non-conformance or manage a supplier approval. Now, what I'll do is very quickly raise an internal non-conformance to show you how easy it is. We like to encourage a reporting culture. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit here, because I don't have appropriate products in. I don't know what products you make. Probably not chocolate milk or banana milk. So we'll be very generic and we'll say metal. You produce metal. So maybe it's brittle or wrong color or anything like that. I want to progress. I can't. I've set a mandatory field so we can capture what we need bare minimum. What is my fault category? Here's a big list for you. It was an operator error. They've done something wrong. We move on to the next stage. What's the severity? It would be your severity scale in here. We'll go major. We noticed it during batch preparation or blow molding of the metal, and we're actually wanting to raise it against quality on site B. That was quite quick. You could make it even quicker because these are customizable.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we click finish, what QPost is now doing is initiating the workflow. I've got it set up from an 8 disciplines point of view. So what it's doing is automatically emailing me. I tend to get all the issues in this system, but then we've got our stages. So I've got until tomorrow to put my team together, and hopefully you're all familiar with the 8D workflow, as it's pretty prevalent within the industry.
And in this area, we were asked earlier regarding the first article inspection. The way we would handle that is this is how you would deal with the actions that come from the FEI.
Yeah, any issues, any wrong measurements, out of spec readings,
FEI, PPAP.
It would all be pushed back through here for management through our sister product, which is QPost Fair.
Yeah.
Now the final thing I'll show you on this is, and it will only take a minute, is the analysis section. This is your graphical capabilities where you can start doing your trending and your analysis. And once I've shown this, I think we'll be ready to open it up to questions.
Yeah.
Now this area allows you to, basically you get out of any system, not just QPost, what you put in, which is why I highlighted the mandatory fields. In here we've got all of my categories, NC unplanned event. Double click down, I can see the type of non-conformance. If I've got supplier issues I want to look at who the suppliers are, I can do so. We've got 12 here, 11 there. If I needed to see the 11 issues, I can get straight to it. So it's all about surfacing the data you need very quickly. And the final thing I would say is a lot of businesses don't accurately track the cost of poor quality, Jane. I think what they do is capture an idea of it.
Yeah.
In QPost, we can categorize, but if we apply the cost perspective here, we can see straight away these guys had 11 issues. They only cost us 500. These guys cost us 100. They had 12 issues. These guys, though, £8,000 or euros or dollars, we need to prevent that from recurring.
Absolutely, and having that level of intel on your supply chain, where it happened, when it happened, how it happened, what the root cause is, and was it a cost, and where does the cost sit? Yeah,
we go to the root cause view. We've got our product line at the top. We had documentation issues. I've got very basic root cause results, but you'll get the idea. The process was unavailable. That can never happen. That's inexcusable.
Yeah. Let's
go and look at it. And you can save these searches. A lot of people take this into management meetings and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the analysis that George was showing you there, I mean, you will have your own types of analysis. We all know any of the leadership team, any of the board members, they're all looking for analysis. It's on graphical output. Show me, don't give me all these details. The quality guys that are, you know, get into the nitty-gritty and get into the details of it, but you're needing to produce this analysis to say, here's where we are, here's what the problems are, here's where the good things are that are happening on, you know, that, or you dump it into Excel or pivot table, or you have something there, you know, in place already within your business. So we're hoping that this is giving you some ideas. We've only literally just tipped on Docs Audit Kappa. Document sits at the top of any business for any standard regarding your policy, and everything filters down from that. So that's why we chose Docs Audit Kappa today. But we have other areas like supply chain that we've not even spoken about. We've got the supply chain, and then you're looking at obviously the risk-based thinking is all applied into the audit functions, but training, competency levels, huge one. You know, and some companies, you know, they're measuring it, some aren't. It's one of the focuses of IAQG, certainly in the quality world, that they didn't measure from 2016. You will be measuring now, and you're going to have to prove it. And how do you do it? And there's a way of obviously doing that within QPulse. You have a few others there, including your reporting function, and that's a game changer in the reporting side, because then something like this can be used in every operational level of your business. And yes, I'm sure if you've got a good IT team at your back and they're, you know, they're helping you, support you, deliver what you need to deliver as a business, they're there.
Yeah, and Jane, you actually covered off one of the questions that was in the thing. Somebody was asking, does QPulse provide a way of tracking competencies and being able to tell if people are trained on specific machinery and stuff? I know from an ISO perspective, knowledge retention and management is a big thing, and that's crept its way into aerospace as well. So yes, within the people and training modules of QPulse, which we didn't have time to go into today, there are ways of bringing up competency matrices. Is my quality team fully trained? Are my auditors up to scratch on the new standard, for instance? Have they been trained as an internal auditor to Rev D? So we certainly have things there. And another question from Ollie is, if you are to transition in October this year, for example, do we have to have the whole standard audited by the transition date, or could we go clause by clause? Now, you actually do have until 2018. So if you were looking to be given the certificate in October, Ollie, for example, as to you're now Rev D rather than Rev C, then yes, you would have to do all of the clauses. However, if you're going to hold on until you get your Rev D certificate, then I think the auditors would work with you on, okay, you're still compliant to Rev C. We also say you're compliant to Rev D, but you're not getting a certificate yet because you've still got to cover off specific clauses.
And again, a good question to ask the auditors.
Definitely ask them, but what my take on it is, if you want the certificate now, Ollie, you need to get all your standards up to date. You need to be audited and said, yes, you're compliant with Rev D. You can't go clause by clause. If you want to wait, take this slow and steady approach and move over steadily, which is the whole point of the 2-year transition period. Colin has asked, is QPulse risk needed? QPulse risk is a product we've not covered today. It's how we visualize risk assessments with the bow tie methodology. And do you need QPulse risk to enable the risk analysis within the audit module? The answer is no. To enable the risk analysis, you need what we refer to as the incidents and occurrences modules, which would be these modules at the bottom, the report and report investigation. Yeah, that question comes from an existing customer at Martin Aerospace. Does anybody else have any further questions for us? There is another one come in about the assets area. How can we track calibration activities to ensure our machines are up to scratch? That's fine. Within the assets area or the equipment area of QPulse, we have the capability of adding our machines, our conveyor belts, our drills, micrometers, etc., and then we can set activities. So every 6 weeks, Jane, you'll be told, go and calibrate this piece of equipment.
An asset is any asset to your business, so it's not just equipment. So if it's something you're maintaining and looking after, so for example, vehicles, buildings, come under your remit, or a piece of equipment. Anything. If you have to manage it, calibrate it, maintain it, make sure that you're looking after it. And also in terms of assets, if you have a piece of equipment's come to EOL, end of life, and you need to get rid of it, legally you will have to. If something goes wrong, if it's met its end of life, I don't need to tell you what problems you run into there. So the system can track an end of life, make sure it's notifying you in advance so that you can replace it, and of course track the cost. You know, and also track the cost of maintaining that piece of equipment as well.
Maybe the downtime has cost you more than what a new machine would cost, and you can go from there. We have had another question come in around ASL, which I assume is approved suppliers list. That's the definition I know. Your supplier list module could handle your suppliers. What a lot of our customers do is tie it in with their MRP or ERP system. That would be your approved suppliers list, and it would push into QPulse on a regular basis. This is the details that I've updated. QPulse is more interested in the issues you have with a supplier, the auditing you're doing against them, the onboarding you're doing, for example. But it is perfectly capable of becoming your approved supplier list if you don't have the relevant software solution out there. Somebody asked what the customer management area does. That's simply the tracking of customer concerns or complaints. People don't like the word complaints these days. It's always a concern. Even if they're using choice language, it would be a concern. We can track compliments in there, which lots of people do get. They just don't track them. You can't tell, hang on, we had a better year this year than last year, because you're not tracking your compliments. And that, I believe, is it. Could we use the workflow module you could use for staff inductions, onboarding, making sure they're going through your fire safety training. That's obviously something you'll be audited against also. Hopefully, I mean, a lot of the questions are around, can it do this, can it do that? QPulse can do a lot of things, guys. It's very configurable. Yes, it's off the shelf, but it's modified to your business requirements. So it would be your terminology, your workflows, your outputs, etc.
Yeah, exactly like that, asking about the training. We haven't covered it today, the reporting side of it, which is something that we will do as a follow-up. And that's where it can change, it changes things in terms of, it doesn't matter what you're reporting into your business, it's irrelevant. If you're reporting something and you have a workflow behind it, then it can comes through the system on the mobile phones or on a portal or URL. You know, as long as you get access to the internet or you're doing it offline, doesn't matter, you're able to create forms of choice, a workflow behind it, and the people will be notified. So lots of different areas you can see here it can be used in. The only thing that we haven't sort of mentioned is the Academy at the bottom. Academy is where it's a learning environment, it's an LMS, learning management system. You can actually track any training that you have given staff on QPulse in the Gale Academy and use it as a training course before they go live. But not only that, you also have an ability to be able to take your own videos, build your own content, and put that into Gale Academy, so that is your learning environment for all your training. Yeah.
Now, I think that's just finished for the day. We've taken plenty of your time. We appreciate the people that attended. This was recorded, so we will be sending this out. And if you have any further questions, you can obviously reach out to us through the email addresses that you've been provided. I did have a PowerPoint open with Jane's email on it. I have.
Okay, they know where we are.
You know where we're at, and please reach out.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.